You're the only one who comes on. I definitely appreciate that. The media have had a lot of fun pushing unproved claims between Trump and Russia. Okay, now here's another angle that you may not have seen. Claims the NRA has been penetrated by the Russians somehow as well. Kim Strassel is on the Wall Street Journal editorial board, and she joins us tonight. I almost can't keep up with the various things the left doesn't like that they're claiming have been penetrated by Russia. But unpack this nutty conspiracy theory for us, if you would.
Well, what's important about this one, Tucker, is it's by the very same people, it would appear, that brought us the dossier claims as well. So you remember, the Clinton campaign hires this Fusion GPS to commission the dossier. It comes up with these fantastical dossier claims, and what's it do? It goes to the FBI in order to give them some legitimacy, even though nothing in it has been corroborated, nothing's been proved. And then once the FBI said it was doing an investigation, then everyone took it seriously. So now what we have is same people, Fusion GPS, that have been peddling to the House Intelligence Committee and others their argument, Glenn Simpson, the head of Fusion GPS, that the NRA has, quote, been infiltrated by the Russians, their top leadership, and that Russians have been filtering money through the NRA and did during 2016 to help Trump. Now, he has no evidence for this, and yet we see the media running after it, and suddenly lots of stories making this claim without a shred of evidence.
Has anybody, I mean, there are some very smart people on the left, and some of them who are self-aware. Has anyone said, well, maybe this is mass hysteria? If everything we don't like, every popular movement we disagree with, if our instinct is to blame unseen saboteurs from Russia, maybe we're crazy. Has anybody said that?
Nope, not that I have heard of, because as you know, and I know, there is such an interest right now on Russia somehow connecting it to the Trump campaign, suggesting there are nefarious things happening around every corner. And this is just very concerning because, look, there is not one jot of evidence to this, all right? Glenn Simpson said this in testimony. He mentioned some random Russians' names. He could provide no evidence of money transfers, of any person's name in the NRA who supposedly took it. And yet you have newspaper outlets like McClatchy who continue to run newspaper articles giving credence to this. So how does the NRA, it has flatly denied it. Anyone involved with this has flatly denied it. But apparently all you have to do these days is come up with a conspiracy, have House Democrats give it credence, and then suddenly it's legitimate.
Our leaders are out of control. Emotionally, they're out of control. They're children. I'm saying it's scary, actually. It's having a big effect. Kim, thank you for explaining that to us. I appreciate your sober voice in the middle of a non-sober time. Dan Bongino is an NRA TV contributor. He's a former Secret Service agent, knows a lot about firearms, and he joins us tonight. Dan, it's good to see you. So you hesitate even to do a segment like this or a show like this because so strong is the social sanction against anybody who asks sober questions about what these kids are calling for. But is there anything, given that you have heard this march advocate for that you think sincerely would reduce school shootings or gun violence?
No, Tucker, and I'm being candid with you. I haven't. I have not heard that. I mean, I know from my experience in law enforcement that criminals don't give a rat's behind about gun laws. They just don't care. A matter of fact, gun laws are one of a few laws that put a perimeter around the fence of law-abiding people, but do nothing to put a perimeter around the behavior of the non-law-abiding, the criminal, because they just don't care. They get the guns on the street. And I think we saw in Maryland recently, the only thing that's going to stop a person committed with evil in his heart to doing chaos, death, and destruction is a good guy, in fact, trained with a firearm.
I wonder, so there are going to be a lot of well-known, powerful, affluent people at tomorrow's march morally on display like peacocks. If they really believe that guns are the problem, I wonder how many of them will bring armed bodyguards with them. And shouldn't a prerequisite of this conversation be, if you're going to advocate for gun control, you live by those standards? Why don't they, I wonder?
Because, Tucker, we're not involved in a war of facts and data and reason arguments anymore. We're involved right now, we're knee-deep in gaslighting. Gaslighting is what the media has been doing to us in conjunction with their liberal buddies and their acolytes for a long time. It's the idea that if you repeat a lie often enough, you repeat it confidently, and you isolate people from the truth, that lie will in fact become an alternate reality. We start with the Trump collusion that nobody can produce a scintilla of evidence. But, Tucker, I guarantee you, if you were to take a poll of Americans, especially liberals, probably 50% or more think it actually happened. The same thing goes for the narrative that the media wants to propagate now. The media is guns are bad, guns are the sole problem. The human being and the evil in the human heart that's existed for as long as we've been around is a non-issue. Let's not focus on that. And whatever they have to do to isolate you from the truth, simple facts like gun ownership's gone up in the United States, gun violence has gone down, that's just a simple way to do a simple correlation, and that's left out of the argument entirely because it doesn't fit the media's pre-existing worldview.
What would happen if these people, the left, right now in their current state of mind, if they took power, if they had the White House in both chambers of the Congress?
Tucker, it's pretty terrifying. I mean, I have to be candid with you. They don't really stand for anything, the left, other than the acquisition of power. I mean, they can't even stick with a coherent narrative. You know, I was chatting with someone earlier, and I said to them, you know, it's fascinating how they put so much credence into these kids marching tomorrow, and thank God they're out there doing it. Good for you. I celebrate your big R right to assemble and free speech. But the same victims of crime who are victims of terror, the angel parents who've lost kids to illegal immigrants, do you notice how the media seems to sideline their voice? They can't even stay consistent on the narrative. These people frighten me because, Tucker, they have no lodestar. And when you don't have principles guiding you and nothing's objective and everything is subjective, that gets really rough. The whole idea of the Bill of Rights was to prevent that.
So this is a question I ask myself a lot. Do you think that the rest of us make a mistake by acting as if this is a rational debate, that we can win people over and here are the facts and I've thought a lot about this and here's my position on it? Maybe we're talking to people who literally don't care what we say or what the facts are or what conclusion reason leads us to. They just want power and they're not really interested in debating. Do you ever think that?
Yeah, they're not interested in debating, Tucker. Go back and YouTube liberal comments on an issue, and they've taken opposite positions on the same issue in an effort to get votes, to go away and minimize the individual and empower themselves later. Dangerous stuff.
God, I spent my whole life doing this. I hope it adds up to something. I hope that someone can be won over. It's not just
me too, brother.
Blowing in the wind. Dan, thank you.
Yes, sir.